Some stories aren't about happy endings, they're about hard choices. About loving someone deeply and still having to walk away. This is Sandra's story, a woman who gave love a second chance, only to realize that faith and freedom don't always live in the same heart. This is Unraveled Heart, Love at the End of the Tunnel. Welcome to Life Unwritten. The warm breeze of Madrid kissed Sandra's skin as she stepped out of the airport, her suitcase rolling smoothly behind her. The excitement of being in Spain for Cynthia's wedding filled her heart, yet a small part of her felt apprehensive. It had been years since she had seen Cynthia, her childhood friend from Goma, and their reconnect through Facebook had been an unexpected gift. When Cynthia insisted she attend the wedding, Sandra couldn't refuse. Cynthia had made all the arrangements, including assigning a driver to Sandra, a friend from church named Luke. He, too, was a guest at the wedding, and since they both arrived alone, they decided to be each other's +1. From the moment they met, there was an ease between them. Luke had an effortless charm, a quiet confidence, and a deep love for Congolese culture that fascinated Sandra. He had worked in the Royal Museum for Central Africaine in Tervuren, Brussels, and during his time there, he had fallen in love with the Democratic Republic of Congo's rich history, making frequent visits. Luke was a Spaniard, yet his knowledge of Congolese traditions, music, and history was more than Sandra had encountered in most people of Congolese descent. Throughout the wedding reception, they shared stolen glances, engaging in conversations that felt too deep for two people who had only just met. When Luke twirled her around the dance floor, Sandra felt a warmth bloom in her chest. By the time he drove her back to her hotel, their conversations stretched endlessly. Every time Sandra reached for the door handle, he found something new to say, something that made her laugh or think. It was a pull neither of them could deny. She liked him, more than she wanted to admit. But doubt clouded her heart. Was it just the magic of the night? Or was there something real between them? Back in Sweden, a message from Luke appeared on her phone. It was a simple greeting, yet it sent a flurry of emotions through her. They continued talking, their messages growing longer, their late-night calls stretching into dawn. When Luke surprised her with a visit to Sweden, Sandra knew she was in deep. Their moments together felt like a dream. Walks along the cobblestone streets, cozy dinners by candlelight, and whispered conversations in the quiet of the night. But beneath the romance, Sandra noticed a hesitation in Luke, a guardedness he couldn't quite shake. When she confided in Cynthia about her feelings, Cynthia's response was cryptic. "You have to make this choice alone. I don't want to be blamed if it goes wrong." The words unsettled Sandra, but she chose to follow her heart. Their relationship blossomed, and they took turns visiting each other's countries. But just as Sandra started thinking about the future, Luke began to withdraw. Whenever she brought up moving forward, marriage, building a life together, he deflected, changed the subject, or suddenly had to be somewhere else. The warmth that once defined their relationship was slowly replaced by an invisible wall. One evening, after a particularly emotional conversation, Luke finally admitted his fears. "I've seen relationships fall apart," he confessed, his voice heavy with hesitation. "My parents had a terrible marriage. I don't want to fail like they did." Sandra reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "But we're not them. We make our own choices, Luke." But fear had already rooted itself in him. A week later, he ended the relationship. Sandra was devastated. Luke had become such a vital part of her life, and losing him felt like losing a part of herself. But she had to accept that he wasn't ready to be the man she needed. Months passed, and then, one day, Luke returned. But his return was not the fairytale Sandra had hoped for. "I want us to try again," he said, his eyes pleading. Sandra's heart leapt, but before she could answer, he added, "But, before we take things further, I need you to give me a child." Sandra's breath caught. What? I need to be sure, Sandra. I need something that ties us together before I can commit to marriage. A sharp pain sliced through her chest. Luke, my faith won't allow me to have a child outside of marriage. You know that. His jaw tightened, his eyes searching hers. I don't want to make a mistake. A child would make this real. Tears welled in Sandra's eyes as she realized that no matter how much she loved him, they were not aligned in what truly mattered. She pleaded with him to reconsider. One evening, they sat in a quiet cafe in Madrid, tension thick between them. Luke, love isn't about guarantees. It's about trust, about commitment. Having a child won't make us stronger if you're still unsure about us. Luke looked down, tracing the rim of his coffee cup. I need something tangible. Something that proves we are meant to be. Sandra shook her head, her voice breaking. And what if you still decide to walk away? Then I'll be left raising a child alone. Is that fair? He hesitated, and in that moment, she knew. If he truly loved her, he wouldn't need conditions to commit. Their argument lasted for hours. At times, Sandra felt as though she was convincing not just Luke, but herself, to hold on to something that was slipping away. I have loved you in every way I know how, Luke. I have been patient, understanding. But I cannot give you a child just so you feel secure. Luke rubbed his temples, exhaling sharply. Then I don't know if I can do this, Sandra. She swallowed the lump in her throat and stood up. Then you've made your choice. With a heavy heart, she walked away, knowing that she could not compromise her beliefs for someone who wasn't ready to stand beside her in faith and love. Over time, they maintained a distant friendship. When Sandra visited Cynthia in Spain, she and Luke would sometimes cross paths. Every encounter was laced with unspoken words, a longing they both tried to suppress. Years passed, and one day, Luke called with unexpected news. I'm going to be a father, he said. Sandra's chest tightened. The words stung in ways she hadn't anticipated. It was then that she realized she still loved him, that she had been holding on to the past, unknowingly shutting herself off from men who might truly love her. She had been measuring every man against Luke, against a love that was never meant to be. As painful as it was, she knew she had to let go. That night, Sandra stood by her window, looking out at the city lights. She whispered a silent goodbye to Luke, not just to the man, but to the dream she had clung to for too long. It was time to embrace the future, to open her heart to a love that was waiting to find her. Love wasn't just about what was lost, but about what was yet to be found. And somewhere beyond the pain, beyond the memories, was a love story yet to be written. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is let go of the person you thought you'd end up with. Because love without alignment is not love that lasts. If this story moved you, leave a broken heart in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about healing, hope, and the lessons life teaches us along the way. This is Life Unwritten.